Report writing is not a nightmare, but it is actually one of the most easiest things everybody can do. And in order for you to do it, you have to avoid these mistakes we are going to talk about in this video. These mistakes also delay a lot of students in the process of writing their report and also make them not to have a good work at the end of the day. If you want to avoid these mistakes when writing your report, make sure you watch this video till the end, because at the end of this video we are going to give you advices and bonuses that no one else will give you. So make sure you stay to the end of this video and grab everything. Hello guys, welcome to my channel. Call me Thesis, please. In this video we are going to talk about those common mistakes that are done by the student when writing their report. If you're interested in other topics like importation, logistics, or business, you are at the right place. Make sure you subscribe to our channel, activate the notification button in order for you not to miss any of our videos we are going to drop. Let's enter into the main topic of our video today. Let's go. Over the past years, I assisted more than 500 students from different schools, different specialties, and also different academic levels in order to come out with a good report. And these are some of the mistakes that I observed in the process of assisting or following up the students in writing their report. The first mistake that is simply done by students when writing their report thesis is that they use all reports the wrong way. What do I mean by that? A lot of students, when they are about to write their report, simply take a report and reproduce or change or convert this report in order to make it theirs that they will present during the defense session. And this is very bad. Let me tell you a short story and a real life story. Yeah, because it's something I actually witnessed myself during a defense session in 2021. It was a student that was at the HND level, and this student simply decided to reproduce an old report that was defended and change it to make his own report with it that he was going to defend. And the funniest thing that occurred was that during the defense session, the same member of jury that marked the previous report the previous year was the same jury he faced. And what simply occurred was that these members of jury simply recognized the work and the student was penalized for that. Imagine such situation occurring in front of your parents, in front of your classmates, and in front other students' parents who are in the hall present to witness the defense of their own kids. This is so frustrating. That is why I simply recommend students that when you want to write your report, simply go through the processes that I gave in my previous video to avoid such frustration. Don't take people's report and reproduce it simply because you don't want to stress or you don't want to put in some effort in order to come out with your own work. You can use someone's report, yes, but don't use the whole work. You can simply go into the report and simply take some relevant parts that are essential. And even if you do this, you have to make sure you reference the person and you also acknowledge the person in your report in the process of doing that. It does not mean you have to copy the person's entire report. No, don't do that. Simply go in the person's report, take what is essential and include it in your report. And please don't forget to reference or acknowledge the person in your work. The second mistake done by students when writing their thesis or their report is that they spend their time arguing or challenging their supervisors. This is something that is actually funny and very sad, because the way you, the students, interact towards or with your supervisors actually determine how long it's going to take for you to finish with your work. Yeah. A student who is polite, respectful, and understands what his supervisor asks him to do when it comes to writing his report will finish his work faster as compared to a student who always think that his supervisor is disturbing him, or his supervisor does not like him, or his supervisor is giving him too much work. What I want to make you understand is that your school simply gave you supervisors because they are better placed to orientate and guide you in writing your report and to enable you bring out a good report. If your school gives you a supervisor and instead of you following what he tells you as instructions in order to come out with a good report, you instead turn to challenge and argue with him, things will be very bad for you because he will make things very difficult for you. The same way parents hate children who are stubborn is the same way supervisors hate students who are stubborn. So please, if you want to have a good report, make sure you understand your supervisor, you follow the instructions he gives you, and you do what he asks you to do related to your work. If you do this, you will actually come to notice that you will finalize or you will finish your report very fast, and you will be in good term with your supervisor. Imagine a situation where you disrespect your supervisor, you challenge him, and you don't do what he asks you to do, and it happens then that he is among your members of jury, or he is even the president of your jury. At this level, you will see that you are on the wrong side, right? You will suffer the consequences of your act. But on the other hand, if you are respectful, obedient, and you actually follow the instruction he gives you, and at the end of the day you finish your report and you are in good terms with him, even if he is among your members of jury or he is the president of your jury, in case of any problem, he might support you or he might got your back. So please make sure you avoid arguing with your supervisors, because they are not your competitors. They are better placed to know what is good for you when it comes to present your work. Make sure you respect them. Okay. The third mistake we are going to talk about is a mistake that I did myself when writing my HND report, and this mistake is a mistake that is also done by a lot of students writing their report or thesis. This mistake is simply the fact that a lot of students don't go through their work or don't read their work after writing. A lot of students, in the process of writing their HND report, when doing research and writing their report, actually think they are reading at the same time. Yes, it is true. But after you are done writing, it is advisable you sit down and read your work properly. Make sure you go through your work at least 2 to 3 times, being it in the machine or printed. But what I would personally advise you to do is that even if you have read your work when it was in the machine, make sure you print it out on a hard copy. Go through it and read again at least for 2 to 3 times. In the process of reading it on a piece of paper, you will come to identify those mistakes that you could not identify when your work was still in the computer. So make sure you go through your work, being it in the computer and more when it is printed. This will enable you identify those mistakes that you can correct before printing your work for the defense. If you succeed to go through your work at least 2 to 3 times before printing, it will enable you to identify a lot of mistakes that will be corrected, and this will make your work a work of quality. And who says work of quality actually says good mark during the presentation and the defense session. So make sure you go through your work and you read it well in order for you to be able to identify all those mistakes that will enable your work be a work of quality. The fourth mistake done by a lot of students when writing their report is that their work is being saved only in one location. Never you keep all your eggs in one basket, and this same statement applies to report writing. When you are writing your report, please make sure your work is saved in at least 2 to 3 saved locations. Because if your work is present only in your machine and it happens that your machine has a problem, you will have to start again everything from scratch, and this is so painful because we have seen a lot of students crying and weeping the day they were supposed to print their final copy, simply because of the fact that when they were about to print their work, their machine had a problem and their work will not be retrieved. Imagine if this happens to you at the eve of the defense, or if this happens to you if you are about to defend in 2 to 3 days. This will be very frustrating. So what I advise students to do is that when you are writing your defense thesis, make sure your work is saved in at least 2 to 3 safe locations. It can be saved in your machine where you're working good. You can also have it in a USB key, and you can also make sure it's present in your phone. Make sure your work is in these 3 locations in order for you to avoid unforeseen circumstances. I am saying this based on the experience and what I have actually seen over the past years, because I have seen a lot of students having sleepless night, doing research, writing their work, and the day they came for printing on their machine could not come on, or they on their machine and they notice that their file is being corrupt. Imagine if this happens to you. This is so frustrating and this is so stressful. A lot of students have cried, wept because of this. And if you want to avoid this, make sure your work is saved in at least 2 to 3 safe locations. This will help you avoid unforeseen circumstances, and if you do this, it will be difficult for you to actually lose or misplace your work. The last point we are going to see is not actually a mistake, but is simply an advice I'm giving to students preparing their thesis or their reports. This advice is simply for them to make sure their work is being read by other supervisors or lecturers in their field. The advice I will give students is that when you are working with your supervisors, please make sure you follow the guides and the instruction they give you. But while following the guide and the instruction they give you, make sure your work is also read by other supervisors. This is not for you to compare. No, this is simply for the other supervisors to help you identify those mistakes or those errors that could not be identified by your supervisor, because we all know no one is perfect. It might happen that some mistakes are not identified by your supervisor and you give it to other supervisors and they identify it, just the same way as other supervisors might not also be able to identify those mistakes or those things that your supervisor will identify. So make sure you work or you show your work to at least 2 to 3 supervisors that will also go through it and be able to also bring their own personal point of view that will help your work be a work of quality. Please, as I usually say, while doing this, make sure you respect your supervisor and you follow his instruction, because he will be the one at the end of the day to sign your work and to make your work valid for defense. So in the process of doing that, make sure you don't disrespect your supervisor and make sure you follow his steps and guidelines he gave you in writing your report. If you do all this, at the end of the day, you will be able to have a good work. Please guys, if you love this video, make sure you check our previous video on the steps that are required to write a good report. Also make sure you subscribe to our channel if you are not yet subscribed. You like, comment and share our videos with those that you think it can help them. As I usually say, 2025 is our year. Together let's grow and achieve more. It was 10 Please, thank you for watching. See you in the next video.